they become swindlers. When someone has failed to obey what God has commanded them, most of them, most of believers, most of children of God, most of the sons of God, most of men of God, most of daughters of God, most of women of God, most of people of God, when they fail to obey God's command, they come into when they fail to come when they fail to walk into the instructions that God has instructed them. When they fail, they come into what we call swindlers. They become swindlers. When they fail to obey God's command, for them, the instructions, the warning, the rebuke that comes when they fail to obey God's instructions, that come when they fail to obey God's command, that come to them in a form of instructions, in a form of a warning, in a form of a rebuke, in a form of discernment, in a form of revelation. When they fail to obey God's command, that comes to them in a form of a word of knowledge, in a form of direction, in a form of a warning, in a form of a word of wisdom, in a form of manifestation, in a form of instruction, in a form of revelation. They become swindlers. They become swindlers because they have failed to obey God's command. They become swindlers because they have failed to obey God's warning. They become swindlers because they have failed to obey God's instructions. They become swindlers because they have failed to obey God's warning for them. Are you understanding? Because they have failed to obey God's commandment for their life, they become swindlers. Because they have failed to obey God's instructions for their lives, they become swindlers. Because they fail to obey God's instructions for their business, for their family, for their son, for their daughters, for their wives, for their education, for their careers, for their home, for their lives, for their body, for where they're staying, they become swindlers. They become swindlers. They become swindlers. Gehazi became a swindler because he failed to obey God's instruction that God gave him through the prophet Elisha. He became a swindler. He became a swindler. They become swindlers by using the name of the Lord. They said that we have read. The Bible has said that he says, this has spared him. This Syrian, he has spared him. As the Lord liveth, I will go after Naaman and get some of his gifts. They become swindlers in the name of the Lord. Like Gehazi, he said, as the Lord liveth, he said, as the Lord liveth, I will go after Naaman and get those things that my master Elisha couldn't get. It is because he failed to obey God's command. It is because he failed to obey God's command. That is why he said, as the Lord liveth, I will go after him. They become thieves. They become swindlers in the name of the Lord to get what the church is giving. When they fail to obey God's command, they fall into what we call a Gehazi spirit. When someone has failed to obey the word of God, when someone has failed to obey the voice of God, when someone has failed to obey the instructions of God, when someone has failed to obey God's warning, they fall into a Gehazi spirit. A Gehazi spirit. A Gehazi spirit. They fall into a Gehazi spirit of living. They fall into a Gehazi spirit of lifestyle. They fall into a Gehazi way of living by swindling in the name of the Lord. Gehazi will swindle in the name of the Lord. Other people, other Christians, they don't care whether you're their brother, they don't care whether you're their sister, they don't care whether you're their family, they don't care whether you're their mother. They will swindle you because they have failed to obey God's command. They will swindle other people. They will swindle other Christians. They will swindle other believers. They will swindle them of their peace using the name of the Lord. They will swindle them, their lives using the name of the Lord. They will swindle their joy using the name of the Lord. They will swindle your hope using the name of the Lord. They will swindle your peace. You will have no peace. You will have no peace. Are you understanding me? You will have no peace. They will make sure they swindle your peace in the name of the Lord. Are you understanding me? They will swindle your peace in the name of the Lord. They will swindle your peace in the name of the Lord. Abengi ganaba filwa ukukonka ifipope fyakwalesa. They become thieves. Balaluka bakawalala. Abengi ganaba filwa ukukonka ifipope fyakwalesa. Mukaba mona. Mukabe shiba. Mukobonfwa. They become thieves. When they fail to obey God's instruction, lesa aleba pela ifya kukonka pakutila abachingilile. Pantu na abafilwa ukukonka echolesa abe bati chiteni pakutila ichi nimichingilile umweo wenu uwumi wenu. So what they do, they become swindlers. Wala lukabaka walala. Ganaba filo konka echolesa asokolola pamwevo wabo. Wala lukabaka walala. Ganaba filwa ukukonka efiolesa alelanda inshira eyo bangende lamo wala luka abantu abeba mwamfweni ganaba filwa ukukonka efiolesa alelanda asokolola mumweyo wabo. They become thieves. Are you understanding me? They become swindlers. It is because they have failed to obey God's command for their lives. When you come across someone who is a Christian, who calls himself a believer, who calls himself a child of God, and he swindles you, elo akuivila. Aivilo lupwa lobe. Akuivila. Mu business. Akuivila. It is because nabafiro